and is unfortunately not able to make it. And once again, we express our condolences to the family. The acting spokesperson, Comrade Zuko Gotlimpi, is being sworn in today as Deputy Minister of the Department of Trade, Industry and Competitions. And he is in Cape Town, and therefore I have been requested to assist with facilitating this media briefing. We are hosting this media briefing today on the developments insofar as it relates to the negotiations process, as well as the development on the formation of the Gauteng Government of Provincial Unity. As you are aware, we are just over a month after the results were announced by the IEC, and since then we have formed a national government. The leadership of Parliament have been elected. We have inaugurated the President has announced the Cabinet. We've also formed government in 8 out of the 9 provinces, so this is really the last leg. Somebody just today sent us a WhatsApp indicating, and I'm not going to mention which country it is, where eventually after 238 days they managed to form a government because they had the same situation as us. We are less than 35 days, so I think we're doing well in terms of making sure that we do have government in all of our provinces so that we can move the country forward. We are joined today by the Secretary General of the ANC, Comrade Fikile Mbalula, who also led our negotiations team on behalf of the officials, as well as our Gauteng Provincial Chairperson and Premier, Comrade Panyaza Lesufi, and then also the Gauteng ANC Provincial Spokesperson, Comrade Lesego Makubelo, who has also part of the panel today. Members of the media will be given an opportunity to ask questions once the statement is delivered. And over to you, Comrade Secretary General. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen of the media. Comrade Phoebe, member of the National Executive Committee, and as well as a member of the negotiating task team. Comrade Panyaza Lesufi, the chairperson of the ANC in Gauteng and the premier of the province of Gauteng, and the spokesperson of the ANC, Comrade Lesego Makubelo. We want to start first by congratulating our president for being inaugurated successfully, as well as new members of cabinet, ministers and deputy ministers who were sworn in just a couple of hours ago. The African National Congress has been leading the process of negotiating the formation of government nationally and 3 other provinces following the indeterminate outcomes of the 29 May 2024 national and provincial elections. This process has culminated in the formation of a historic government of national unity, executive, negotiated by 11 other parties, all of whom signed the statement of intent. The approach of the ANC has been to separate the negotiations of the national formation of national government from the negotiations of the various provincial governments. This was to allow provinces to negotiate with their counterparts in the context of the particular dynamics of their respective provinces. It was agreed upon by all parties that the discussions will not be lumped together, to the extent that the agreement nationally will not automatically cascade to an agreement in the provinces. The negotiations in the various provinces began in earnest around the same time as the negotiations began nationally. An agreement was reached in the Northern Cape and in KwaZulu-Natal provinces. Both provinces have elected their provincial legislature presiding officers and their premiers and have announced their provincial cabinets. The formation of the Gauteng government of provincial unity has not been without its challenges. The process followed in Gauteng was determined by the provincial leadership of the ANC in consultation with the national leadership and guided by the national leadership of the ANC in terms of the strategic framework the National Executive Committee of the African National Congress have adopted. So Gauteng, as much as it was given a leeway to do what it wants, but it did not become a federation. It was guided and is still guided by the strategic framework that was adopted by the National Executive Committee. The process followed in Gauteng was determined, like we said, by the provincial leadership in consultation by national in implementing and guided by the national strategic framework of the ANC. Since the ANC is the largest party in that provincial legislature, we did not lead the processes of establishment of government in the province of KwaZulu-Natal as we expected the political party that have emerged to actually galvanize and engage with all political parties. So the second largest political party in KZN is the IFP, and they invited us and we duly agreed with them to form a government in KwaZulu-Natal. The ANC invited political parties with representation in the Gauteng provincial legislature to negotiate and establish a government of provincial unity. The negotiations in Gauteng have been protracted and have not produced an outcome as yet due to a number of factors. It is important to note that some progress has already been made. The election of the Speaker, the Deputy Speaker of the Gauteng Provincial Legislature and the Premier of Gauteng on the 14th of June are an outcome of the negotiated agreement between these provincial layers of leadership. What is now in dispute are the modalities of constituting the provincial government and the provincial cabinet. As part of this intervention process, it was agreed that the Secretary General of the ANC will lead an effort to reach out to the Democratic Alliance nationally, national leadership to discuss an approach to resolving the impasse which arose between the provincial leaderships of both the ANC and DA could not reach an agreement on how to constitute government and the provincial legislature on their own. The ANC confirms that we had an extensive engagement yesterday with the Democratic Alliance, which was conducted in a frank and open spirit, aimed at giving effect to the democratic mandate of the people following the 2024 national and provincial elections. We have acknowledged the constructive manner in which our respective structures in Gauteng have engaged, and in which this engagement contributed to the election by the Gauteng legislature of a Premier Speaker and Deputy Speaker. Regrettably, and notwithstanding an initial agreement regarding the formation of the Provincial Executive Council, this process has not proceeded with the same alacrity. In terms of this agreement, a member of the DA will be elected as Deputy Speaker, and the Premier will appoint 3 DA members as MECs. And additionally, 6 DA members will be supported as chairpersons of committees in the legislature. In our discussion yesterday, the proposal from the ANC was to honor this original agreement. This proposal was rejected by the DA with their insistence on proportionality of 5-4-1. I don't know, you know football formation. So this is an important formation. 5-4-1. Sundowns. So the ANC reiterates its position that such a proposition is both a misrepresentation of the statement of intent and also undermines an agreement to principle in the national negotiations that the provinces be allowed to proceed with their own negotiations, which process had initially yielded a result in the province. Now, the statement of intent, paragraph 16 and 17 and 21, referred to by Madam Zille, have been a public document, and it was made public right from the onset. So we have not been negotiating in secret. So we can refer to that document like a Bible, all of us, because we have been exposed to the contents of that document in terms of what we have agreed as an intent to form national government working together. The ANC reiterates its position that such a proposition of 541 is both a misrepresentation of the statement of intent and also undermines an agreed principle in the national negotiations that the provinces be allowed to proceed with their own negotiations, which process had initially yielded a result in the province. The changes proposed by the DA are not in good faith, as they seek to change the agreements that were reached at the provincial level. Furthermore, notwithstanding the fact that at the point of deadlock, the ANC delegation indicated it had to consult with its principals. Now, yesterday in our discussion, we allowed our provinces, led by Panyaza, our chairperson, and supported at national level in the negotiating team by Pakstau, Enoch Godongwana, and David Makura to engage with the DA. The DA was led by Helen Zille, who said she's part of the Gauteng caucus. So I don't know the structures of DA out there, and we are not here to question the prerogatives of other organizations. How the DA operates, how it works, we must respect their own operations. So she was part of the delegation, which engaged with our comrades on the other side, together with Solim Simang, Natasha, as well as Fred Nel from the DA leadership in Gauteng. And then when they deadlocked, because they were discussing this deadlock in relation to the modalities of the formation of cabinet in the province, then they deferred to national leadership. In our case, that national leadership and political principal is myself and the negotiating team, the DSG and other officials. And then last night at 7 o'clock, we reported to the national officials, which are led by the president of the ANC, Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa. So that is political principles. I don't know on the side of the DA what political principle will be. It will mean Zille, who was part also of the discussion. So with due respect, we respect that, because she was part of the discussions, which also represented the party at national and as well as the province, working with his team in the province. So that discussion did not yield any result in terms of it further went to a deadlock. Furthermore, notwithstanding the fact that at the point of deadlock, the ANC then indicated at that point that it was to engage with the highest structures and the political principles on what then becomes the way forward. The DA nonetheless proceeded to issue a public statement indicating that the negotiations are not closed and that they are still open to engagement, but nonetheless, they also tabulated their own point of disagreement in terms of the formation of the provincial cabinet. This indeed was regrettable that we could not reach an agreement yesterday and proceed with the formation of cabinet, which Panyaza have now postponed twice, and so on. We will come back to that as well when you engage with him as the ANC provincial leader in Gauteng. We are unable to accede to the DA's latest proposals, as we have indicated throughout the negotiations. The DA is not the only party we are negotiating with on the setting up of the Gauteng government of provincial unity. To demonstrate our commitment to a speedy resolution of the impasse, which we agree with Madam Zille, that this indeed can be characterized as an impasse, and our good faith in this discussion. We wrote a letter to the DA this morning to ask that we return to the negotiation table and not declare a deadlock. The ANC reiterates our firmly held conviction that the task of setting up government in the economic heartland of our country is both urgent and overdue. It will be irresponsible to continue with this impasse because, let me explain to you, we have an impasse with the DA, but we agree with the rest and the majority of the parties. So GNU is not a grand coalition or a coalition between the DA and the ANC. It involves others. We encapsulate the spirit in our negotiations of the statement of intent of inclusiveness in terms of engagement. And that is what is important for us. You will have seen also in terms of national government, that is what we have done. We have included all the parties who have signed the statement of intent, and others have embraced the principle of confidence and supply, which means we've got an agreement with you to embrace the statement of intent, but we don't want to participate in the executive, and therefore we want to only participate in the legislature. So in that regard, in the committees and all of that, we will talk about who chairs what committee and all of that. So that is supply and confidence. So in terms of the DA and us, we agreed, and the rest of the other parties, with the proposal of the GNU, multi-party arrangement of engaging with everybody to form government. The ANC reiterates firmly our held conviction that the task of setting up government in Gauteng is both overdue, and it will be irresponsible to continue with this impasse, meaning we don't have the luxury of an impasse. The Premier soon will be faced with a number of challenges without cabinet ministers and everything to respond. Already you were tormenting him about Nasi Span and the people who say that Panyaza duped them. So the point is that the ministers are not appointed, and you know what happens when the house that is house to let. Everybody comes in and do as they wish. So we can't allow that impasse, especially with Gauteng, to continue. We commend the Northern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal that have moved with speed and to form government. The Premier of Gauteng, Comrade Panyaza Lesufi, intends to conclude all negotiations and consultations and to announce the appointment of the members of the Executive Council today, Wednesday, 3rd July 2024. The DA were advised that if they are not to be part of the GPU, the deadline was 14 hours today, Wednesday, 3rd July 2024. There has been further engagement since then with Madam Zille in terms of her position as the chairperson and the person leading the negotiations of the Democratic Alliance. It is our heartfelt wish that all parties, including the Democratic Alliance, will form part of a government of provincial unity to serve the people of Gauteng and South Africa. The ANC will continue to exercise its leadership role by engaging with every party, including those who are not part of the GPU, in the interests of transformation, redress, national unity, peace, and stability. The formation of the Gauteng Provincial Executive Council that will serve and lead the 7th Democratic Provincial Administration will be an important step forward and a testament to the resilience of our democracy. We assure South Africans that the soon-to-be appointed Gauteng Government of Provincial Unity will be expected to immediately get down to work on the pressing issues facing the Gauteng province and our people at large. Thank you very much.